Hi, I'm going to be helping out my friend today in her kitchen, doing some fridge deep cleaning, some general tidying in the space. Last time I was creating a video from my friend's house was in the summer, and I recently went through all the videos and I noticed a pattern where I say, oh, this is the summer, and in the summer the kids are home, and so I don't know about creating content. It's kind of difficult. And then in the winter, I say the same thing, like, oh, it's winter and I can't really create content. Or so I noticed a pattern in general, like the summer is its own season, and then it takes me a couple of months to get back into the routine of the new school year, and then it's holidays are coming up. So there are just so many excuses to not make videos. And I'd like to get better at that. It's good motivation for myself, and I consume a lot more cleaning videos than I produce. And I think it's overall an additive to the cleaning videos universe to have more content out there. If you're new here, welcome. I will do a cleaning in all of these videos because this is the kind of content that I really enjoy, and I just like to see things getting done. It motivates me to do something in my own house, keeps me company. I tend to prefer the videos where somebody's talking the whole time, which is what I try to do because I know that a lot of people use cleaning videos to body double as they do chores around their house. I'm working with about 3 people in my neighborhood doing cleaning, organizing. I'm very flexible, well, in the parameters of like school days usually, but I remember the really hard days with like both kids at home when they were even younger, where I feel like I would have sold my soul to have somebody just come for 45 minutes and just clean the bathroom and the kitchen. And I have done that for clients also because, well, a lot of people they charge a minimum for time or um, the amount that they charge. So I know that not everybody can afford a cleaner, but I also know that sometimes you just need like one or two things done because you feel like you're drowning and losing your mind. So this is why I prefer to stay really flexible. Like I've done just like under an hour, even very quick things for people just to have like some space and some peace in like at least like one space. And I've also worked on a really large projects, especially with my own family. After my grandparents passed away, I was tasked with all of their stuff. My parents had a lot of things that I've helped them take things to the dump. And when people are no longer there or they give you a complete free range of what you could do, that's very different than working alongside with somebody who has attachments to their things. And no matter how they may seem useless to me, I think that a lot of people have tendencies to hold on to things, and that's very understandable, and there are very logical reasons for that. There are several of these reasons. One is that it's a good thing, it's a functional, useful item. If it's, let's say, something you can still use in your house, even if you have duplicates of it, or let's say something is kind of broken and you get a new one, but you keep the old one just in case. Things like crafts for projects that you may want to do someday. and it's a full craft kit of some sort, and you don't want to get rid of it because it's something you can see yourself going back to doing at some point. And it's like death by a thousand paper cuts. Oh, and by the way, sorry, my tripod is in every single shot. I do apologize for that. So, anyways, the way that people tend to hold on to things, and it's a delicate process because you can't um it's an emotional attachment, so you can't logic them out of those things, because at the end of the day, those are useful items that they may eventually get around to, or it could be a spare for something, or it could even be too many clothes that are perceived as useful. And if somebody doesn't do laundry for like a month, like let's say they go to laundromat, like most people in New York, they may feel like they never have clothes. They always just have too many dirty things. And so they feel like clothing is something they need more of, not less of. So why would you get rid of kind of like a crappy t-shirt, but you're still holding on to it even though you don't like it, it's at the back of your closet, but you're like, yeah, but on those days where there's absolutely no clean clothes, then I'm going to use that. Same with socks that aren't quite right, underwear that's not quite right. It's like, for those days where I don't have anything clean, those are like emergency backup stuff. And also, people do this with dishes. Like, I never have enough dishes. They're always dirty or whatever. So, like, getting more dishes, if you see, like, a lot of times in New York City, people will leave stuff out on the curb to pick up. Like, if they don't want their stuff, they'll leave it in a box on the curb. And I was always the kind of person who walk by that and be like, oh, these are kind of cute. Like, I can always use more dishes, right? Or I can always use more clothing, because those things are useful. But what ends up happening is that the illusion of needing those things kind of trumps the mental space it takes to keep those things under control. So, that's a hang up that I see a lot, is why people don't want to let go of things. How do you overcome that? I'm not sure. I think that everybody has to come to those decisions on their own and without pressure, and understand it from within, rather than having somebody dictate what what they should and shouldn't have. Some things that have really helped me was the Marie Kondo book, which is of course the life-changing magic of tidying up. And oh my goodness, does she get so much pushback for why that book doesn't make sense, for why you can't implement it with other people in the house, with kids in the house, with different life circumstances. If you don't know, the premise of the book is to keep the things that bring you joy. And that can be very easily dismissed, because you can say that everything brings you joy, and I think a lot of people miss that you can implement at least some of the concepts, even if not everything applies to you. And she encourages things that could get people into trouble, like pulling out every single piece of clothing and then making a decision on the spot. I know from working with people that often is hugely overwhelming and they can't do that. I myself actually prefer to do it things that way, but there are completely different methods. And this is also why I found Dana K. White so helpful, because she does the absolute opposite of that, which is that she goes item by item and deals with it immediately without making piles, just by making a decision about it. It's either going to the space it belongs, or it's not even the space it belongs, it's where would you look for this item first, which will force you to take it to that place and or get rid of it right on the spot. And as you do either one of those things, that item is dealt with and you're no longer thinking about it instead of making piles, making decisions. And even if you have just like 15 minutes or an hour to devote to something, you're always staying ahead because you're not making a big mess with a giant pile of pulling stuff out. So there are as many strategies as there are different types of people. There's also Cass from Clutterbug who does a lot of very specific, like, category of person. She classifies them as like bugs. Um, so, like a ladybug, a cricket, um, people who will either need to have stuff out or they need to not have stuff out, people who can handle very specific detailed organization, people who need general large bins of things. And she's the person who uses the method of kind of parking stuff away where you're not seeing it. And if in like 6 months, say, you haven't used it, touched it, thought about it, then you just donate that whole box. And obviously, the downside to that is the tendency to just keep those boxes, even if you haven't looked through them for the reasons already mentioned, like having that future use for something, that future hope that you may need it someday. All of the methods have a benefit and a drawback, and it really depends on the person in the situation. So I'm really happy to have had such a wide exposure, especially now that I'm starting to work with people. I can implement a lot of different methods that will work better with someone specific in their specific situation. I think people, especially in modern times, really lost the concept of the present moment and fail to set up their lives in a way that fits what they're doing right now, meaning the things that are important to them right now, the season that they're in right now, the even like the body shape they have right now. And this leads to holding on to things that are supposed to serve some future, which may or may not come. And once you get over that hurdle, I think that everything changes. And things for me personally, in terms of cleaning and organizing, didn't really click until I was a parent, which actually was after I've done like a major hoarder clean out with my grandmother's house. So I was kind of building the muscles for that. But then when I became a parent, there was so little bandwidth that I just really needed, like, I felt like I needed a miracle. And I started getting interested in minimalism, and I read about the capsule wardrobe, and how at first that seemed really not intuitive, the way I was talking about, like, well, I never have any clothes. Why would I have even less clothes? Why would my baby have even less clothes, or even less toys? And I really started to pay attention to, for example, the toys, how the baby, the toddler would take like a box of something that was like little pieces and just dump it. And that's what I hear about from other parents, like, well, they play with all of these things. But when I really started to look at it, they weren't playing with anything. They were just dumping boxes of puzzles, boxes like of like shape sorters, stacking pyramid thingies they never used them as intended. So I just got rid of things until I had a few larger toys. And I saw that they actually started playing with things and not just throwing it, looking at it for a second and then moving on to the next thing that they could dump, because they really do enjoy that. But they could dump stuff outside. They could get like a larger toy to put sand in or leaves in, and they could dump that, and then you don't have to bring that stuff home. And I applied that to other things, like leaving only a day's worth of dishes in the cupboard, which space is so limited in most New York City apartments that people kind of need to do that anyway. Most people need to do that anyway because they are really limited by that container restraint of the actual like shelf or the cupboard they have. And even though I did run out of those dishes by the end of the day, if I needed them the next day, I would have to do those dishes. Same with clothing. If I kept the ones that I enjoyed wearing, and I would be forced naturally to keep those under control. And those amounts of the things to be kept under control were never overwhelming because it was just 1 day's worth of dishes, or 3 or 4 days worth of clothes, or a week, say. And even though right now, if somebody was to drop by my house, they would be met with complete chaos, the thing that has changed is that a quick 10-minute pickup in any area will reset it back to neutral. Storage spaces aren't crammed and overwhelmed. It's easy to distribute things back to where they belong, which is based in the logical place of how things are actually used. And this is what I tried to get to with clients who do request organizational help, is functionality and the ability to, no matter how many crafts they do, no matter what, if they're homeschooling or whatever their lifestyle may be, they can very easily maintain the things that they have. All right, I'm going to leave it here for this one. Thanks for watching.